Hey guys, it's Mathel here once again with the follow-up video for the Corrupting Blood and Bleed Val Reign of Arrows Gladiator. Now, it has done all endgame content by now, and this is the endgame video, and it was an extremely smooth build, very surprisingly even. Unfortunately, it's more or less a failed sort of concept on my behalf, because I wanted the Reign of Arrows to do some decent bleed damage, as well as the Corrupting Blood to do some decent damage over time, but it pretty much ended up being just Corrupting Blood. And all in all, we had about 1million DPS total, most of it being Corrupting Blood, 80% of it being Corrupting Blood. So, to, allude to the title of the video, 1million DPS has never felt so good. I'm pretty just blown away by how comfortable the game was, for the most part, with 1million DPS, which is a pretty pathetic number in today's day and age when talking about proper endgame builds and stuff. But all we had was about 800,000 Corrupting Blood damage, 150,000 Reign of Arrow damage, and with the playstyle, with the consistent damage over time, uptime on most bosses, it was very smooth, and the bleed explosions, since we're scaling a lot of physical damage, end up just shitting on any sort of content that has multiple mobs. So ultimatums were very smooth, as well as beyonds and various other sort of big pack things like simulacrum, deliriums, whatever it is. So it was a very nice mapping character, and it was a pretty smooth bosser. Even though the DPS wasn't huge, most bosses would be dying still within a few seconds, but on some bosses that are a bit tougher, you just have to do a couple of mechanics and run around in circles for a few extra seconds. So we did end up taking on all the endgame Guardians, Conquerors, the four-way fights for them as well, the Maven four-way fights and stuff. Cirrus was pretty comfortable. Maven was probably my biggest challenge, because that one I messed up a few times and then also had to just kind of maintain uptime, which felt a bit weird, but it's not too much of a problem anyway. And this is a wave 19 or 20 simulacrum here, where it's pretty smooth. Like I said, you just need one thing to explode, and that clears everything up quite nicely. And the Val Reign of Arrows and the Reign of Arrows really does give you a lot of coverage and a lot of overlap. So we're getting our 10 stacks of Corrupting Blood up pretty consistently and rather quickly. So most things will be taking our maximum amount of damage very early on into their exposure to our character. And then Kosis here, like I said, got to do a few mechanics, but there's pretty much full uptime on the Corrupting Blood, and the damage isn't too bad, and our survivability is kind of okay. Got a little bit of life gain on hit, a little bit of regen, but mostly just, avoid things and then life flask it up. As well as that, though, we did do a Hall of Grandmasters for this type of a playstyle, and Corrupting Blood. Corrupting Blood is actually very smooth for a Hall of Grandmasters. This is the final wing, which is usually supposed to be the hardest one, and as long as you can get good stacks of Corrupting Blood going, as you can see, it goes through procs bubbles as well, even though the Reign of Arrows bleed does not. As long as that happens, then things just end up dying pretty comfortably. And yeah, there's a few tough dudes out there, and we still can definitely die, and I think we died once on this run to a different wing, but overall it should be able to farm it not too badly. Even killing plenty of the block arseholes out there, block regen tanks, I think that's one of them, and it just takes a little bit of work, but definitely doable. But as I was saying, basically a failed venture in the form of trying to be dual Reign of Arrow and Corrupting Blood sort of setup. So from playing this character, what I basically discovered is you'd probably be much better off, this is our Cirrus by the way, with a few little buggy interactions of texture streaming. So yeah, I do end up dying, but it was kind of funny. Basically, we'd be better off just scaling pure Corrupting Blood. So similar to how you'd scale a Toxic Rain, except just Corrupting Blood instead. You'd go plus gem levels, you'd go a bow with very high gem levels and all of that, and you'd basically ignore your bleed on this type of a character. So which means you wouldn't really even need to do a Gladiator, unless you still want the bleed pops, which do feel very good, but you could ignore them altogether, and you can do just about anything that'll scale bleed damage. So you could do the damage over time, so you could still do an Elementalist, you could do a Scion, you could do a Trickster, a Raider, And then just run Rain of Arrows if you still want, and do all the gem level bullshit, and then just do pure Corrupting Blood. And I've seen examples where you can get 2 million, maybe up to 3 million DPS on the absolute min-max of Corrupting Blood, which would be 2 to 3 times my current damage, but you wouldn't be at all bleed based, and you'd be built just slightly differently and probably more expensively overall. But that is the high end of a Corrupting Blood sort of build. Whereas my little hybrid thing, I mean, the Var Rain of Arrows, the Rain of Arrows, that does a bit of damage and it does help a little bit of bleed, but it's nowhere near as much as it could be, and ultimately you could instead just run like an Asylum for help on single target, or a proper puncture or tornado shot. Even that would do a bit more damage. I still really enjoyed the Rain of Arrow playstyle, and this character is completely copyable and worth playing if you're looking for something like this, but there are probably more min-max options out there for a Corrupting Fever, Corrupting Blood bow build is all I'm trying to say. So we've done all the content, we managed to clear everything pretty nicely, and the character was about to hit 95, and I can recommend it. It was pretty damn nice. But with that said, I am going to leave you with my first ultimatum boss encounter. Well, second actual encounter, first kill. The first time I encountered him, I didn't actually know the mechanics at all whatsoever, and stood there and took the earthquake things, which got me killed. This second time around, I think we got it a bit better down. Still very clenchy, but wasn't too bad. So I hope you guys are having a good ultimatum. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time. Also, what have I even got on this? Smaller area, blistering cold, miasma, razor dance. That might fuck me up.
Relentless assault.
Fuck me up, daddy.
Time to end this.
Oh god, spinning blades everywhere.
Be still. Take it. Go ahead. Be still.
I think I'm dead, chat.
Light of chaos. Ultimatum.
Slam. Slam. Slam.
Hey guys.
Fuck. How does that thing even change?
Chaos at my service is finally over. Continues. Chaos laughs, mortal, and fortune is yours.
That's hard. Sitting my anus thoroughly clenched throughout that. Easy fight, wasn't even close. But in other news, holy fuck, that was hard. I was clenched. What do we get? This thing? What does it do? 40% life. 40% mana. 35% global something. 8% increased cooldown recovery rate. Gumbo and helmet. I don't know what you mean by again. I haven't done any before.